Good afternoon, friends. I'm Narendra Arora. I'm basically a pediatrician. I used to teach at All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi, and then shifted about 15 years ago full-time to research, and currently I'm with INCLEN. So it's a great pleasure, and thank you very much, Wellcome Trust and India Alliance for giving us this opportunity. And I'm also aware that at least 6 or 7 of you whom we bothered you for several hours to understand what goes in the mind of a leader in Indian context. We did this, we have just completed this study, and it has taken us about a year. The focus area was basic sciences, socio-behavioral sciences, and public health. And we haven't included clinicians in this. Just to give you, we were able to identify and talk to 47 research leaders. We also had a non-informal interaction with 187 of colleagues and peers of these 47 leaders. We evaluated the research ecosystem in 39 institutions and 4 other institutions which which are in existence for more than 20 years but no major research output. We also spoke to 6 global north researchers who had been working in India, and then did an environmental scan of leadership training programs in India. Just to, I would draw your attention to the map of India, which just shows from we have taken these leaders from all over the country in every part. So what did we find? The key observations are that Indian research leaders have traits and skills found in leaders anywhere else. So there is, they have all the basic traits, skills, both soft and hard skills, and that is what makes them leaders, and they have emerged. These research leaders, wherever they are, despite constraints, are continuing to produce high quality work. Mentoring is a very important task all of them perceive, and next generation of leadership is being prepared, and I see it's really exciting to see young people sitting here and from across the country. And most of them succeeded in translating their research into meaningful societal good and policy framework. Most of these leaders were successful. Now, in addition, we found that there are 4 pillars of research leadership in our context, which builds on a research facilitating ecosystem, and this includes personal attributes of the individual, self-awareness of the worldview, issues of research management and collaboration. I'll just briefly take you through to this, that what are covered. In self-awareness, this self versus worldview, it was interesting that leaders perceived primarily 4 or 5 qualities, but the others were that they are very hardworking, persistent, perseverance, they have competence, they have innovation, and very high social, emotional intelligence. But when you ask their peers, they list a whole set of characteristics and qualities which these people never gave so much importance, whether it is team building, whether it is communication skills, whether it is translating their research findings, whether in their ability to influence research ecosystem. These were all important things. But equally important were negative things. Half of the peer group did not have very generous words about these leaders. And primarily they thought their management skills are not very good. The second, at individual level, a lot of them felt these are arrogant guys, they create obstacles for others, they don't let others grow easily, or similarly for institutional, a lot of them felt that they are not really contributing to institutions as they should have been. Another very important, almost majority of them had some evidence where outside people, outside world suspected their integrity, whether it was in terms of their data, whether in terms of their publications, and most of them could not publish a lot of their data. A lot of them thought it was not useful today. A lot of them thought their data quality was not good. And similarly, there was issues of data tampering and students, or whenever the oversight was not very good. The third very important component which emerged out of this data is that despite attempts, most of these leaders could not have a good work-life balance, and they were missing out several of their social commitments and even professional and academic commitments. And therefore, this well-being, which is so important for this human being, is missing somewhere. Research management. Research management, majority of them had difficulties of project execution, whether it was HR related issues, whether it was budgeting, whether it was in terms of financial auditing, negotiating with bureaucracy and the regulatory part. Another area where issues of management skills were coming up is their ability to handle emotional situations, emotional disturbances which keep on occurring in our teams, and most of them had experienced that. And finally, a very important characteristics which emerged, that almost all of them had situations where they had to make decision where outcome was uncertain. They didn't know, but they made the decision. Majority of the times they were very happy about it, but this was another area which is not well characterized in currently available literature. Collaboration. It appears over the years, most of the leaders have difficulty in collaboration. And collaboration is mostly coming up because of unequal partnership and trust deficit between collaborators. This is both within India, national as well as international collaborators, and many times non-alignment of scientific interest of the two. Institutional ecosystem for research. This was very important. We collated information from everybody, from the research leaders, from the peers, from the deans and research in charge of these institutions, as well as international research leaders. And what we find is that these are 6 parameters which they thought that should be addressed. Institutional ecosystem which respects research. Number 2, environment for developing high quality work and healthy competition is a very important component. Third, intellectual freedom and some protected time, which is very important. So this was in terms of a more individual related, that individuals want intellectual freedom, protected time, healthy competition. On the other hand, issues of management, that means grant management unit which takes care of various grant related issues, financial audit, research management software, etc., robust ethical processes, research friendly governance and administration. I think most of we researchers get really bugged with these small things. And then institutional research infrastructure which was there. But the important point which has come up is that this is primary responsibility with institutional authorities and policy making bodies. Leaders can at best influence their functioning, but to start these things, the leadership at the institutional level and at the programmatic and policy level have to take an action. So in summary, our leaders have a kind of a pathway which should be called not pathway. Pathways are straight. These are vectors. If we remember our physics, where several parameters are influencing us simultaneously, and right from the early childhood, many of them had influences, exposures, family environment, and thereafter learning vectors when they were in school and early career exposures, their traits of and soft skills, functionality of hard and soft skills again, and then nurturing institutions wherever they are working. An important thing was that most of our leaders have some role model or the other who is motivating. They are not copying them, but they are motivating. Yesterday we heard Abhay, and which itself, it's great motivation. But people don't copy, but it's a motivation by itself. And finally, professional vectors and evolution as a leader. We think if somebody is at 35, at 55, they have evolved much higher if those who are on the pathway to leadership. But important point is that everybody perpetually faces some of the key challenges. It is in terms of research management, ecosystem and bureaucracy, work-life balance, worldview, both positives and negatives, integrity questioned, and collaboration. And this is something which needs to be thought through and considered what is to be done. So in the Indian context, we need to take care when we are kind of initiating any program, the leader, besides the usual leadership programs, these contextual issues have to be taken care of. And it is disappointing that the current health leadership programs are not in tune with the contextual realities. Curriculums generally do not cover these challenges. And even globally, when we look at it, very few of them, but only in a sporadic manner. So these are something which need to be taken care of. So what we are recommending that in partnership with organizations and ministries like DHR, ICMR, CSIR, DBT, India Alliance, DST, the first and foremost is to sensitize institutional leadership and policymakers. They need to understand the imperatives and importance of leadership among their younger faculty members particularly, and take care of all these 4 parameters: personal attributes, self-awareness, research management and collaboration. And this obviously will come up only if we have a research-friendly ecosystem. But the equally important is that if training programs are to be articulated and structured, the framework must contain these 4 parameters. So that is the high-level summary of our research. And the way forward, we are going to work with India Alliance, Wellcome Trust, and other stakeholders in the country to undertake a very structured advocacy at national and state level so that these recommendations can be translated at various levels. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is that working? Thank you for that very succinct presentation.
Thank you.
So that does actually give us time for 2 or 3 questions or challenges or agreements, disagreements.
So I love your talk, and I didn't know that you could do a scientific study on that, and I think it was very nice to see. And talking about the scientific part, I'm curious if you actually had a control group. I would be curious to know whether this is an intrinsic thing of leaders, where the people who are going to become leaders, they have those traits, or did you also study but did not mention to us people who are otherwise good scientists, but they are middle of the road, laid back people, that they don't demonstrate some of these, what you seem to be hinting at, deficiencies? Because some can be fixed and others cannot be fixed.
Yeah. So, thank you for that question. That's very important, and it bothers all of us at all times. So a leader has 3 components. One is intrinsic traits. The second is soft skills built on these intrinsic traits. And third is hard skills built on these intrinsic traits. So that's how it works. And these traits some of these are basically intrinsic. And that's why I showed that diagram, which is this is the one. It is here that these traits make you self-driven. There are inclinations right from childhood, and they are influenced by their surroundings. So not everybody becomes because then they need a lot of nurturing of institutions and the other early career exposures. So I hope I have answered your question. We didn't have any control. It's almost impossible to have the controls. The only thing is that within these, the modifiable component are how to strengthen your soft skills and hard skills. And hard skills make you functional. And it is here that management components come up.
So, Professor Arora, I want to congratulate you on a really excellent piece of research, and a beautiful presentation. In fact, the presentation itself could be a powerful tool for bringing about change, because it's very evidence-based. But my question really is about to do with your conclusion, because your conclusion was, and based on the evidence that you garnered, that one needs to now sensitize leaders and institutes to what is required. How do you propose to do that?
Yeah, so in fact, that is with Dr. Simon, that's what we have been discussing along with Shahid. And I must tell you that for last 5 years, INCLEN is already running a research leadership program. And so far, and we take very selective, only 10 to 15 young faculty members, not more than associate professors. And across the country, we have done for 72 children, sorry, I mean my age, young investigators. And so we realized that the program, actually INCLEN started this program in 94 or 95. But unfortunately, Western model was copied at that time. And so we decided to drop it in 2004 or 5 and rebuilt a program which was more tuned. But after doing this study, I find that our program is not very useful at all, I would say. I don't want to use harsher words. And we are not taking care of a lot of challenges and uncertainties with a leader in our kind of context faces. So that is one. So restructuring of leadership programs in Indian context. The second is that we need to work, and we have already created pathways in a sense that DBT knows about this research, ICMR knows about this research, and we are going to approach them. And in fact, ICMR has been supporting our research program. So we hope that that will build on that. So there is some background already created. We are already in discussion with the Ministry of Health, because beside the research, it is also for health managers that similar kind of program will be useful. So we have got in touch with the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare also.
Good. One more question, and then we'll move on to next speaker.
Thank you, Dr. Arora. Purnima Menon from IFPRI. Really lovely to see you.
Welcome.
Really enjoyed your talk. And so I guess I have a question that you started to speak about in your responses to the previous question, which is, I noticed that you had interviewed some of the folks, I guess, running leadership training programs. And so I was wondering if you could say a little bit about what some of the characteristics are of these leadership training programs, and how far and how close they come to the kinds of things that you've identified. My personal experience with leadership training has been that while the first training on self-awareness was phenomenally useful, it's like seeing an sometimes uncomfortable pieces of yourself in a mirror. What ended up being most useful to me in my life was a 6-month coaching experience that helps you work out the tactics to deal with those parts of yourself that are a little uncomfortable. And so I'm curious to know, are there management coaching programs that are embedded into these existing research programs? What do I'm just curious about the sort of the approaches that are being taken in these.
Yeah. So currently there are 8 programs in the country which are for researchers. Another 12 programs for health management. And the important point is the issue of self-awareness is completely missing. Completely. People, see, I think as leaders, and I'm sure some of my friends who are present, we look at ourselves in the mirror all the time. We do not look through the window, because from the window a lot of others are looking at us. So this world view is not understood by most of the, and these are both positive as well as negative, and we need to get prepared. So beyond the traits, the issue of traits plus soft skills and functional skills, these are only partially covered in the current programs. So some health management, research health management is talked about in these leadership programs, but not in a structured manner that it helps to shape a youngster into a research leader. But still, whatever is being done, I must tell you, out of these 72 in 5 years, now I think 28 or 29 of them have their funded projects from various funding agencies. So I think that is a good beginning for us for whatever we were doing so far.
I'd love to continue the conversation sometime.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Another round of applause.
Thank you very much. Thank you.